Kohima Anagami Women Organisation Building Day 147 requisition lakaper CTAN and NNQF pra public dialogue rakishake with the right to equal opportunity, transparency of fair recruitment and open competition of charcha kushe. Speakers Kahuto Chishi, Niketu Iralu, peace activist member, Forum for Naga Reconciliation and Initiatives of Change, Mr. Robert N. Solo, social activist general secretary, KZKV, Tehopo and Searching Together, Dr. Thong professor and former pro-vice chancellor, Nagaland University, Mr. Kahuto Chishi, GB social activities politician, Engineer Meshenlo Kath convener, Combined Technical Association of Nagaland, Dr. Videkhono Yhokha member, core committee, Nagaland NET Qualified Forum Khan Tagishe. Even laka moderator do are Lungleng Tagishe. IB details report sabo reported social alogot.
This is optional the fourth semester, the fourth year, the 7th and 8th semesters. Now the advantage for students of the passing of the 8th semester is that they get to go for do a 1-year master's degree program. And those who have done exceptionally well, who have scored 75 or 80%, I don't remember, some of you will remember. From the 8th semester, they can start a PhD. They can start looking for a PhD. So the system has been revamped, it has become very friendly, it has become very forward-looking. So when this is happening, when somebody can go straight for a PhD after the 8th semester, it means that the 7th and 8th semesters have a big component of research. So today, we need faculties who have PhDs as well. This becomes very important. So all of you are aspirants, some of you are working for a PhD, some of you have your PhDs. Those of you who are still thinking, better work for it faster. Because even if you get recruited through the NPSC without PhDs, you will require a PhD for future promotions. Now the national gross enrollment ratio of 2020 was 27.3%. Nagaland, it was just 18.7%. That's 8.6% below the national GER. Now the National Education Policy's target is 50% by 2035, 10 years from now. But Nagaland are being prepared as it is right down in the dumps. Annually about 10,000 students join the government colleges, are admitted to the government colleges, which is just 30%. That means 70% are going to the private colleges. There's something wrong with the government colleges. We don't have enough teachers, we don't have enough infrastructure. The NEP coverage is very vast. So there are a lot of implementation challenges. It's understood, but there was time. So all the states were expected to expand the infrastructure, increase the manpower. That's basically teaching positions. But it seems Nagaland, we have still been sleeping because besides this 147 posts that were created for a particular category of people, there's no post creation. That means we are very ill prepared, but we have already accepted NEP 2020. So the government has to take responsibility. Now I've seen another problem which is not related to this, but there is one point where it is related. Reservation of posts for certain backward communities. I'm not against any backward community, but it pinches in one place. Now there's a government order that says that these posts don't lapse. So that means we have seen some posts that cannot be filled up because there are no qualified candidates for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Government colleges are short of teachers. Every single post for those departments of the colleges matter a lot. The government has to wake up. Something has to be resolved. We cannot keep these pending indefinitely, waiting indefinitely. But one good thing with this NEP 2020 is that it encourages institutional autonomy. We have 3 autonomous colleges in Nagaland. The Kohima Science College is the only government college and 2 private colleges. The government should have been doing much better. But this autonomy, the government of India is willing to give to deserving colleges, but there are some requirements. More teachers, more qualified teachers, and the basic infrastructure. We have to improve. Now this is a very competitive international arena that we are in today. The key to growth is knowledge generation. At the heart of knowledge generation is research. Without research, no knowledge is generated. We cannot compete with anybody outside our territory. The world's top institutions like Harvard University, the MIT, Caltech, Cambridge, Oxford, Yale, Princeton, etc. are basically research universities. They have devoted their time, major chunk of their time for research. So that's why they're right on top. One fine day about a decade back, the government of India woke up to find the first list of the world's top universities that India did not figure in the top 200. Now that was a shock with our IITs, the IIM and the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. It was a big shock. That time, the thrust in India was 60% classroom academics and 40% for research, because research is an important component. But that woke us up. So then the government of India insisted that 60% of our effort should be on research, only 40% for academics. That's almost 10 years back, and we still have not climbed into the top 200 universities of the world. So the need for today in Nagaland in particular is to upgrade our higher education by blending academics and research, very intensive research. We have to ensure change. So for this we need sufficient, high quality teachers. Highly qualified teachers. Otherwise our students, our own Naga students, are doomed to mediocrity. And it's something we are seeing today. Now we have some expectations from the government. That is, if 147 posts are given, I'm still skeptical. Even if the 147 posts come, I still think we may be short of posts, short of teachers. There are 17 government colleges. Now we expect all the major colleges, that's Dimapur Government College, Fazlani College, Zinaboto Government College, and Kohima Science College, Kohima College, and all to be upgraded. We expect them to start the additional year, the 7th and 8th semesters. Probably Kohima Science College has started, I'm not sure. But for that, we need extra teachers, we need extra infrastructure. Now there's a problem. Contract has miserably, there was too much of manipulation, extensive manipulation, so the government itself abolished contract appointments. But for higher education, we have to see it rationally. But there are shortage of posts. Creation of posts take time. Sending a requisition to the NPSC takes time. But in the meantime, departments of various colleges should not suffer. So we can think of appointing guest faculties for 6 months or for a semester, which can be renewed. But following all the quality procedures, that's advertising openly and inviting them, interviewing them, picking the best. That's what has been happening in the Nagaland University for many years. And then we also expect the government to build up the necessary infrastructure for at least the major colleges. And I don't believe that Nagaland is a failed state, and I hope that Nagaland will never be a failed state. So if that's the case, then I think Nagaland should have at least one multidisciplinary state university. Nagaland government should not shy away. We need it. if we are to grow intellectually. They say about 30 or 40 crore rupees is going out of Nagaland annually because many of our students go out for studies. We don't have space for them here. And also we have, as an afterthought, I also put this, we have expectations from the NPSC also. Transparency. I feel there should be transparency and we should ensure there is transparency. Of course, it's definitely the case, maybe the NPSC recruits following, making the minimum qualifications. In UGC has prescribed NET as the minimum qualification. PhD is not mandatory. But if there are cases where there are PhD candidates with PhDs, preference of weightage should be given. Because ultimately we need to develop our university, our colleges into research institutions. So with this short address, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed, is that when we talk to Meshenlo Kath, we found that they were not fighting anything for themselves, not for their personal gain. But one very inspiring message we got from them was that what has happened to us, this should not happen to the posterity, to the future generation. That is why today my organizations, we have come forward to support them. We are their staunch supporters. As a matter of fact, my ideas may be irrelevant to you because I did my research and a little bit of homework on different colleges, different government colleges, and I want to interact with the government officials which are empty. Those chairs were for the government officials, and then my idea was to interact with them and to learn from them. This is not a government bashing program, as a matter of fact, but to have a healthy discussion, to have a happy discussion. Because, okay, revocation is done, requisition is not done. But even if the requisition is done, the dialogue, the conversation should go beyond that. Unfortunately, today our officials did not come, and I feel sorry for them. Why am I here today? And one question that people ask me, and also they say that, why are you supporting them? One very simple answer I gave to one government official was that I don't want to see our children, I don't want to see my brothers and sisters on the street again. I want them to study, because during the protest what we saw, some of you came out shouting slogans. At the end, when you get a little bit of time, you just go inside, sit on the floor, and then open your books, and you start your work again. So those things we really don't want to. But to the government officials, to the government, I just want to tell them that I don't want to see you on the street. But if they behave like this, when questions were asked, they said that I will not stand for media trial. When they are invited for invitation, they never appear, they never come to us. And to the different organizations, what I want to say is that, because somebody just day before yesterday asked me, what is 147? And I said, my answer was that 147 is the small tablet, small medicine to heal Nagaland. So if we fail this time, then I don't see any future for Nagaland. I think this battle is very, very important. That is why you have our full support. And even in future, in whatever way we can, we are ready to help you. We are always here to, give you our support. And the need is very much felt now in our society to change our system. System is horribly wrong. One driver molested a girl, arrested, suspended. Randy Wilfred, he was booked under POCSO Act. Booked, no? The verdict should have been out within 6 months to 1 year. And then he was awarded a better post in the finance department. Item FIR was registered. FIR was registered. Huh? But he calls media and he gave interview at his office chamber again. Is this the system? Are we going to follow this kind of system? Is there a system for rich and poor? So that is why we really need to discuss with the government officials and the other thing. Regarding 147, I think today that is the main topic that we are going to discuss, we are going to focus on it. And then I will give time to my other colleagues also so that we will have more time for discussion. Thank you.
See, the order has already been revoked. But the problem is, why is the requisition not being sent? Now, it will clarify earlier. We invited the minister, we invited the officials also. We gave a letter to them. So after some days, we went to their office, requested them to come and see us. Because see, until I came up with the number, what is black is black, what is white is white. So public also time why is the requisition so difficult to be sent? We wanted them to highlight that to the public. Only they did turn out keep run. Only see. Now, just recently, the NNQF, they have filed RTI, okay, 2 RTI on the same day. So, this is what the department is doing. When the RTI is asking question about the total sanction posts of assistant professors and librarians, in one of the RTI, the reply is 609. I'm saying, okay, RTI was filed on the same day. Vitamin. So, 609 as it were, or 500 something as it were. Besides, go parole, sanction post was the way. Now, after 2022, they asked for at that particular year in a post creation order than post creation, post creation. 2024 last year, 17 December, akta posit grade position. Akta posit la grade position. Bisas ko parolo. Di, abang yung jari uli lang guys. So, maybe in the later part we'll discuss more. Thank you.
Just as revocation without requisition is incomplete, even if requisition takes place, there are certain concerns regarding the CTAC, which makes the exam certain concerns that makes it questionable with regard to transparency and fair recruitment. And so based on that argument, I want to point out 3 things here. The first thing is with regard to the mark weightage. When it comes to the CSE, the Common Educational Services exam, they have allotted, out of the 100 marks, they have 100%. They have allotted 40% to the academic report of the aspirant, and 45% to the written examination, 15% for the interview. Now here the concern is particularly with the 40% that they have allotted to the academic report. Now we will see that there is variation among the aspirants. some aspirants will fall under the annual system, some under the semester system. Now there's a stark difference in terms of their scoring because of that difference in the system. Then there are also variations across universities. Some universities are very strict with their markings, whereas some universities are lenient with their markings. So based on this 40%, some sections of aspirants are already at a disadvantage, even before they write the exam. Then only 45% according to the written exam, then we have 15%. Now there are, of course we understand that there has to be a section that is allotted for interview. However, we also find that there are disparities against there. When you look at different aspirants, some of them will have better articulation skills, a wider range of vocabulary, mannerisms and presentations, that will differ. Now, we're not saying that that is wrong, but there's already an existing disparity in the society. And therefore, in order to narrow down those disparities, I think the interview percentage also has to come down to at least 10% as other examinations. So these are some of the concerns that we have addressed and appealed to the concerned authorities also. And we come to this recommendation that if we are looking for fair recruitment, the authorities should bring down the academic reward from 40% to 20%, and as mentioned earlier by Professor Thong, they should give more emphasis on research publication, research experiences, and even teaching experience. Then the interview should be limited to 10%, as in other exams, and the written examination should be increased to 70%. That's our suggestion. These are some of the demands that we have put in one of our petitions. As you go out, you may sign if you agree on this point. Now, the second point that I want to emphasize is with regard to transparency, which has already been mentioned. Now, when the CSC results are out, you only get to know your marks. You can file an RTI, but you can only get to know your marks. You don't know the marks of the person who has cracked the exam. You don't know the marks of the person who is on the waiting list. Now, we're not questioning their competency, but if we are going to push for transparency in fair process of recruitment, then the disclosure of marks of the candidates should be a priority of the authorities. That is another thing that we want to push for. And the third concern regarding the CSC exam is regarding the aligned subject eligibility. Now, UGC Gazette 2018 clause 4.121 allows aligned subjects to apply for a specific subject. So say for example, there's a vacant position for sociology, candidates who have master's degree in social work, social development, social anthropology can apply for that course. Or if there's a course for political science, IR, people with IR master's degree can also apply for that course. However, when inquired, the higher education stated that they do not allow that. It's only for a specific subject. Okay, so that is fine. But the concern arose when they allowed some people from the allied category to give the exam. So it happens that in certain instances, there are two people who studied in the same university, the same subject, one was allowed and one was rejected. So our demand is also that they apply the uniformity. If they're not going to invoke this clause from the UGC that allows allied subjects for uniformity, or if they want to push for a more inclusive form of recruitment, then let there be wider participation by allowing categories from the allied subjects to participate in the examination. So I'm highlighting this concerns with regard to CSC because since today we are talking about transparency, fair recruitment, and to make sure that there is right to equal opportunity for all the citizens of Nagaland, and for all the aspirants, keeping in mind that there's already a disparity in the society, to make sure that this disparity does not get reproduced in the education system or in the recruitment system, we're sharing this discussion.
Deeper into all those issues. I think we don't want to make this like sound like a press conference, although we can have this conversation and objective and reason on not necessarily supporting each other, but rather we can also see like whether we are doing the right thing, whether what we are demanding, we as the movement demanding is objective enough for all of us to continue the movement, right? So I would like to also understand from the panelists, I would call them panelists, Professor J.J. Thong and some of you have also mentioned about the process of recruitment. When we look around the world, the topmost universities universities. We see that, I think, for recruitment for assistant professors in academics, we see that recruitment process is mostly about the research papers that they have published in the past. At the same time, hardly it comes to written exam, hardly it comes down to MCQ exam and so on. I think, but in the context of Nagaland, it's very much still there. I'm not saying that it's bad or good, but I just want to lay out and hear your opinion. It's such a, academic position is such a reputed and very respected position. I think we all need to keep that in mind, I believe. And for such an important position, how do we look at it? Do you think such exam formats still are valid, or how do we look at it? Like in terms of teaching experience, would be very, very crucial. Like Dr. Vidya mentioned about 10% for the interviews. I think those subjective matters would be very, very helpful to recruit the best persons, to transfer knowledge and to help students learn more about the subject rather than being able to write. There are many criteria, of course, but one criterion I believe can be teaching experience, vast teaching experience, and in-depth knowledge about the subject, like how much research papers they have published in peer-reviewed journals, in those reputed journals. So I think the system that we have right now, and the kind of ideal system that we want to achieve, because I want to mention that even West Bengal have a selection committee, not done through West Bengal Public Service Commission. They have a separate commission to recruit teachers and assistant professors. And in the context of Nagaland, what would be the objective way to look at when we recruit teachers? Let's now keep aside for a while that there should be fair recruitment. Fairness, we always encourage that, we always support that. But more than that, how do we objectively look at academics to make sure everyone gets benefited from the teacher, not just by passing written exam, MCQ exam. And that's something I just want to provoke you on that. Anyone, there's no assigned term, but anyone can just take time and we can have the discussion around that as well.
This NPS, aspirants also have to write, do they have to go through a written test? A written test. So let me tell you about myself. 1984, most of course, except a few senior citizens, none of them were born. When I sat for the LPSC, there was no written test. It was straight to the interviews. Now let me tell you something about the central universities of India. They don't conduct written tests. Now, the minimum qualification is NET, National Eligibility Test. This is a very tough examination. And a lot of people have gone through it. This is a tough written examination. So you don't need to test their written skills again. This is my personal opinion. And we have been recruiting in the Nagaland University for the last 28, 29 years since I was there. We don't conduct written tests. It's just straight for the interviews. The LPSC can come to terms with this. Because it's from the written tests, I always believe that some manipulation can happen. It's just my personal belief. Okay? But things can happen inside.
Dr. Thomas, NET was the basic qualified test. Because as Dr. Vidya said earlier, different universities have different forms of marking. So some universities you get very good marks, some you get very bad marks. So there must be a common test which judges your knowledge. And it was just brought to my attention yesterday by one of my young friends who sent me a text saying that the new education policy has eliminated the NET. No? No, I don't think it's mandatory. I checked. So, 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so this is my grouse with the government, with our elected leaders. Any policy that the center initiates, we accept it blindly,
Because we know that they are corrupt. If we kick back a little also, they will come after us. Say oil palm. No, KTP, no? They were against the oil palm cultivation, but they accepted wholesale. That earlier when this highway was being built in the Bangla Pahad, they call it, no? Dynamite also, our friend Mr. Robert Solo, he objected to it, the use of dynamite. But our government just allowed them, and look what's happening. Just recently one truck driver has died again. I think how many deaths have taken place there? So things like this, no? And education is supposed to be in this concurrent list. So the state has a voice also. So it is very frustrating when our leaders do not fight for the benefit of a society. So I want you to understand that all these affect our future. And all these are means of promoting the self-interest. No? Say, universities in Bihar, UP, no, you can get 7% marks also. You come with that and you come with from a tough university, no, and automatically you are disqualified, no. I mean, not disqualified, but automatically you lose the chance of access to employment, no. So things like this, I don't know how we need to solve it, but say NPSC, if we have a common test, no, then you don't have to go through written test and NPSC, no, just interview.
Not very distant past. There's for leakage of question papers and things like that. So the interviews may be very good, but somebody may score very high at the written examinations. But just at what? The Supreme Court has also started getting this thing on like their proceedings. So then we should also think of those lines. What's so confidential about the NPS?
Okay. I want to share something about NPSC. Nagaland Public Service Commission is so outdated. Okay. See, we got started very long back, so till today NPSC does not have subject experts. And in the beginning I thought that NPSC has the sole power. But after so many years of fighting for corruption, what I learned was NPSC is just a robot. When the elected members press button, yes will be yes, or no will be no. They are just implementing bodies. And they themselves also, they don't want to get updated. Our Nagaland is as such that I'm sure most of you knows, really, all the exams that are conducted under NPSC, we don't have subject experts to set questions for Common Educational Service, Combined Technical Service, NCS, all those exams, whichever is conducted, questions are set by outsiders. You know that? Pusat diwo, company kumagi, questions set guna diwo, inilai guna tulis. And so from our side, we have requested them to, I think now it's high time that NPSC should be updated. It's high time you should have subject experts in every field because we have enough qualified people. Kuli mun सबसे बिहार तक last year NPSC website hang कुछ जाना ना अब मैं form fill up करे करते hang हो जाए NPSC hang होना ना. That is the problem that when I'm talking with this, I end up pointing my fingers at the policymakers. They are the one. See, policymakers, they are updating only their buildings and their size of plot of land. Update was it? I like to stop third classes. Honestly, when it comes to this marking system, their marking system, interview marks, civic, manipulation, association like us, we fight against the government and we brought down the interview mark also. Earlier it was 75, it is 55 in NCS. I'm sure all of you know. Because we didn't trust the interview now, but we know. That's why we brought it down. Our marking system was a common educational service example of the marking system to take that we feel because university and high marks they shit mark to confuse the another hero. Example like one engineering project, example like my college, it's very difficult to score mark. Now for common technical exam in academic writing interview really common education to marking system as well. And now how can this be changed? Only if the department service rule is changed. And who is going to bring the change? The elected members. And that is the reason I always blame, put my fingers against them. Because they have to update their mind also.
Cases more than 90% of the cases are of the service rules. Nagaland High Court cases are more than 90%.
Maybe that's a sign of unemployment.
Very heartened that our NNQF and CTAN are fighting. But I have no faith in our elected leaders and in our governments. This is a fact. These people are so dirty, so petty. They have not done these things out of ignorance or out of a mistake. They have done it deliberately. And you have won a very big victory by forcing them to cancel the regularization. But they are never going to requisition into the NPS. Now, because I believe that the rumors floating around that every one of these 147 paid a certain amount of money. No. So whoever took the money had to give these people time to recover their money. So the only, in spite of my disappointments with the judiciary, the only option is to get the courts to intervene and force them to requisition these posts. Since they can regularize them, why can't they requisition the posts? They cannot say that these are sanctioned posts, non-sanctioned posts, nothing like that. So that's my take on that. Now, and regarding NPSC, see, interviews are very subjective. Now, my brother, when he appeared, the interview in 1982, even their tribalism was very prevalent. So he got into an argument with one of the members of the NPSC, and the chairman, who was a Sikh gentleman, he intervened and told that member that we are not here to question his knowledge of the subject. That has already been done in the written thing, as I said earlier. We're just here to test his personality. So things like that. I don't think any of you people didn't bother to read my manifesto when I contested the elections. But in my manifesto, I wrote clearly that in every competitive exam, the candidate will have the right to compare his written answer script with those of others, and every interview will be video recorded. See, one of my young lady friends, she appeared in a social welfare thing not for regular job, but for contract. He just asked her name and sent her all the way. And in fact, she was told in advance, no point trying for it. It's already been demolished. So things like that, you have to understand. But as I said earlier, I believe our only recourse is legal. So, if any of you know anybody in the legal fraternity who is willing to take up this case, I've also tried contacting some people. I mean, of course, we talk or withdrawn, and that is the way forward. Because these people I don't trust.
There's no doubt at all But I think, I personally feel that if I were in the position, not only ill will, I'll do a much worse job. Because everything is new that we're trying to do. And we have very little background resilience. I would say this couple has a lot of resilience because of its background. We'll discuss that later. But I think that is why so many things are done wrong just because we don't know how to do differently. I feel that we are witnessing a huge thing that has brought together like this. A few years ago, we couldn't get a group like this, especially of young people. Just because I think they were not, I don't know, you know so many things now, and so you're so smart now, I'll honestly say, so well informed because of the information technology, IT, and all that is, you're grasping them and you're benefiting from it. And so such a group, I've never seen a group like this. That's so alert. Showing such interest. So I feel that I would like to appeal to all of you that don't give up at all to make this better and better. This process that you are part of, led by this group who have brought it into being, don't leave it to them to work it out. It's going to become very difficult, very difficult. And I don't think you will give up, but I make this special plea. Jean Monnet, he was the international bureaucrat, economist, lawyer and everything, Frenchman. And he was regarded as the man who created the European Union. With Chancellor Adenauer of Germany and Robert Schuman. Chancellor, he was the Prime Minister, and Robert Schuman was the Foreign Minister and Prime Minister eventually of France. After the Second World War, it was a terrible time of complete destruction of Europe and the world. And so they said, how do we make sure the Third World War doesn't come? And so it's a long story, but he's thinking, he's far-seeing wisdom. And from his own tested experience of many years, they succeeded in creating what they call the economic and political miracle of the European Union. You get all this in books now. And he said this, this quote is said to be the summing up of all his volumes, of all that he did. He said, nothing is possible without people. Nothing is possible without people. Nothing is lasting without institutions. And I feel that what you are doing is the building of institutions to serve our society, but you are the people. The institutions are very important, but the quality of the people who will build and decide whether the institution without which nothing is lasting will work. And in that, some may be scientists, some may be doctors, some may be geologists, all kinds. Engineers, everything else that all of us do. In that, each will have to understand that each one is equally responsible. Some may be more glamorous, some may be more talked about, but the role as a guy like me, I can't do anything glamorous like science, engineering, law, nothing like that. But I can listen to the inner guidance. I realized I could only do that. So I decided I'll never going to give it up and keep improving it. I think discover each one of you, what is your role? Because you have a very good role to bring into our history something we've never had. Building of institutions to make our society, enable our society to go into the future. Going to be extremely difficult. I don't need to say that, you know more than I. But I think this is where all that we are discussing will enable us to understand the role each one has to play. Otherwise, we'll see worse things happening. We'll have more bad people coming up doing worse jobs. But I just wanted to add that. I think that perspective has to be kept up, and really, if you were to come up and look at you, something very big historic is happening, but we don't know how to go forward. Therefore, don't give it up. Keep developing it. Nagas have never had such an interest from the younger generation.
I would also like to add that corruption, I think it's bigger than what we see. The transition of the Nagas from tradition to modernity. Maybe there was a time when our uncle and our fathers would see that they used to job offers. They used to be called to come for a job. So maybe following that tradition, maybe people were called, people that were appointed, and maybe it became, in the modern stage, it became the corruption that we see now. But we also have to look at it, understanding that it is a transition that maybe we have not been able to handle properly. So corruption can also be seen as intentional as well as unintentional. And regarding the quality of recruitment that we've been discussing, I think if we are able to set the system right, then quality will eventually come down. So I think the priority is to set the system to continue, not to give up. So as we are able to structure the system the way we want, maybe quality will eventually follow.
To deprive us of our rights. Among them, they have got a very good system. Give and take. There is no tribalism among them. But they create tribalism among us. And I said in a normal society, there is the government of the day, there is the civil societies, the church, the organized criminal element, and the media. Now, our churches, our government, our civil societies are all corrupt. Our underground factions have become the organized criminal element in our country. There is no mafia, but we have multiple mafias in the form of our NNPGs. And our media has become silenced, threatened, or caught. So when I said that, all the Nagas, they clapped. Because they understood. And this is what is happening. We have to understand that we are no longer in the headhunting stage. That we don't have to fear other villagers, people from other villages, people from other clans, people from other tribes. We have to put our faith in the law of the land, not in our tribal bodies or in our village. You come to Dimapur and you will see the amount of unions, the amount of village bodies, the amount of churches. It is shocking. And then we talk about government corruption, we talk about underground extortion, don't talk about the extortion of churches. The churches are equally corrupt. So we don't have any moral compass. We have lost moral compass. We don't know what is right, what is wrong. Now, where does this originate from? The origin is in our choice of our leaders. The reason I entered politics was because of this. I understood that the cause of all these problems is our elected leaders. As I said last time in my address to you, when we were protesting. I'm a private person. I don't like to go around. You will not believe me when you see me speaking like this. But there was a time when I could not stand in front of people and even open my mouth. But I have become what I am because of the need of the hour. I contested because I understood that this is the root of our problem. There's nobody to fight with them on the platform. All I asked was a platform where they cannot ignore me. They ignore me. Everybody ignores me, okay? I am never invited to any talks. I'm never invited to participate in any discussion on any issue. I once asked one of the members of the Nagaland NET Federation to take me. When the state government invited all these organizations to discuss the municipal election, women's reservation and all. So that elder to me said, don't you trust me? I said, no, I trust you, but I know you. You will go to Kohima, you will just sit silently when these people say whatever they want, you will come back and they will take your silence as consent. He agreed to take me, but again, I was not informed, I was not in, and I'm not the sort of person to press my thing, myself on others. So he didn't inform me, I didn't inquire. But later on I found out that the leader of a certain underground faction told him not to take me. This is how things work in Nagaland. We're discussing the municipal act and some underground faction is interfering there because I don't support this faction. Now the church also. The churches, they hate me. Why? Because I point out what they do wrong. So you have to understand that you have, it's the same, no? You may not be interested in politics, but politics interests me. So you have to understand that next time, when you get the opportunity, in anything, in any election, you have to stand for election. Because I understand, you don't have the choice also. This time Kohima people, they had Meshenlo Kath choice. I gave them a choice in Thong. But the rest, maybe Thong, Konyak, few of us. But the rest of the assembly, there was no choice. So you have to be willing to stand for election. It doesn't matter whether you have money or not. Give people a choice. Don't give them the excuse of saying that we had no choice. So that is my contribution.
The CTAN and NNQF have started, as all of you have started a very big movement. You got victory, but that's just half of the journey. 147 was a budget requisition. But it is our silence that has been encouraging corruption over the years, over the decades in Nagaland. And Nagaland is one of the smallest states in India, probably is one of the most corrupt. It's because we have elected those corrupt people. But this movement, so this protest was a start. Now we see so many young people here. Niketu had already mentioned it. Mr. Kahuto has already talked about corruption. I can see this movement growing bigger. Maybe in the days to come. Eastward China, it was the students who revolted against the government, of course, they were massacred. But they showed the world what students power is. Aspirants, you have your students behind you, you have students behind you, you yourself, some of you yourself are students. So it's very heartwarming to see so many, but we hope to see this movement growing up in huge proportions, not allowing our government to continue its own ways. We'd like to see a clean, of course, we cannot expect 100% clean government anywhere. There's corruption everywhere. But we'd like to see a clean government. We'd like to see our state progress. And this can happen only through higher education.
Okay. This 147 itself is a violation of right to equal opportunity in public employment. This itself is a violation of Article 16. Now what I want to say is, when the Nagaland government does not follow its own rules, which they have made, how can you expect the NLA to respect the Constitution of India? No. And requisition apartheid, I won't agree with our strategy, because by any means it has to go. Requisition jaan rahi the department of the jo lagati. Na, ma chucha bhule na. Requisition to jawa lagi. Or for us to, of course, sir, we don't have money for court case. Our court case, national government court case, chief place, man, have chances. Our Kimas have already out of Sir G.T. Thong has already stated that lack of teachers is a so religious state. So, to court case, we think our Kimas have to requisition to G. We have the evidence with us. Of course, 100% evidence that we put to things the school. Earlier, the minister lied to us 2 times. Magi convinced we about thing man revoke we were Jokashi Magi to Bisas Night personally no question. Aro revoke we now man continue to test they were compelled to revoke. Now when we are saying that requisition has to go, if there is a post creation, that also for the post of assistant professors. If I am not mistaken, assistant professors can simply do EAC, DSP, and BPC. What that is we correct. So in that post, actually the number of posts was 151. Only 147 became popular by himself. Even our minister, he started calling himself 147 to keep going on. That introvert was there. Now requisition has to go. What we are saying this is, earlier the department and the department officials and the ministers were claiming that 151 posts were specially created for those 151 very special people. Okay, that is what they claim. So according to them, if that order is revoked, 151 posts is also dissolved. Gone in Ambassador. They were saying that there is no post creation. Only as per the RTI, they are slowly admitting to their mistake. After post creation, which was the several RTI replies, after post. Think what to recognize today, the 17 December 2024. It will be the after create position. What to think they have regular position on 157 game. What to think the after post creation, that is what they are saying. 8 posts. But what we saw when we had a meeting with the minister, he was showing me a copy. I requested him whether I can click the picture of the he didn't allow. So the smart So what I found was there was a post creation of 129 posts. 129 posts. And after that, when we had a meeting with the deputy chief minister also, Deputy Chief Minister and KGTV meeting with the ex-official director. So when we say that we saw a letter, 129 post creation at Kishi, our Deputy CM asked the ex-official director, she agreed, she agreed. So it has to go to APSC. But we don't know what we will do. Of course, one Janathan fight in but still we will not keep quiet. Requisition has to go.
Yeah, regarding going to the court, the thing is that once the matter becomes sub judice, then we cannot protest also. And then we don't know when the court will bring a verdict. So I think it's quite risky. Once the matter goes to the court, then for us it's no use of sitting and discussing. So we will not have any more thing to discuss about it.
Just see this. It was a very big success. I said it's only 50%. We managed to book a very bad case, and if the government doesn't requisition these posts to the NPSC, I think the CTAN and NNQF protest again. And maybe this time you might get more support to this. Because maybe I'm seeing a number of people growing. Everybody is fed up with the ethics of the government. So think of a protest. It's a democratic form, it's a democratic right. It's nothing against.
Thank you. Those are very important points of views and practices.
The war will still continue. So the government also should know that yes, they saw the sentiments, the emotions of the people, of the children. That time we saw leaders telling them, "Oh, you please go home." No, I will not go. I will not go. The anger did not still come out. But the government should not provoke the anger of the youngsters.
Expect from the government. And why? Second question: why have mainstream civil society organizations turned a blind eye? And third question: why did the church remain silent? We can be careful about church as well. We can't just, paint umbrella term of the church as well. Yes, of course, there are churches that really support. There are churches that are not really supporting as well. But yeah, let's still on that question.
First, as I said earlier, I don't expect anything from the government. It's fact. Why have mainstream civil society organizations turned the blind eye? I don't know if my friend Mr. Robert recall when we met Governor Rami for the last time. So I was telling after that we don't give too much importance to civil societies, especially the tribal bodies, because these people are puppets of the politicians and the bureaucrats. Then I asked Robert, what about NLTV? He said, just in a humorous way. So that is why our civil societies are remaining silent. Because they own their positions to these people in power who you are fighting against. And regarding why did the church remain silent? The church is always silent. My nephew, he's a principal of one of our leading theological colleges. And in his presence, we were discussing something, and I said, don't mistake the church for God. Okay, we tend to think that talking ill of the church or the theologians will somehow bring the wrath of God upon us. The last time Mr. Lungleng and I, we had an interaction on this show. Somebody told me that somebody is writing something. We had it more than 1 month back. But anyway, somebody was still writing for me. And somebody had written that I will be cursed or something like that because I speak out against theologians. So, we have to understand, we have to pressure our churches. They are the moral compass. That is the duty of the church. It is not to preach on Sundays. I tell my villagers, hey, God is not going to take attendance. He's not going to count how many Sundays you attend church. He's not going to see how long you pray, how beautifully you sing. He's going to judge you by your deeds. So, it's high time we understood that all these are part of each other. They have the symbiotic relationship of corruption. And that is why we have 20, okay, now 4 of them have merged. So we have around 22 freedom fighting groups. Can you imagine? And all of them are connected. During the ULP elections in Nagaland, when I was interviewed, I told them, okay, you go to whoever you want, Don't go for anyone connected with the undergrounds. I think more than half of them are connected with the undergrounds. Don't go for anyone who's connected with corrupt officials. The remaining half are connected with corrupt officials. So, this is what we have to understand. We should not hold any expectation, false expectation on others. It is down to you. You decide. And my suggestion was the legal route. But if you have to go through the protest, I will stand by you. And you have to understand, each and every one of you must stand and be counted. Nobody else is going to help you of your own volition. You have to force it. So, God willing, if you protest loudly and well enough, it will force the government or the churches or the civil societies to that.
Thank you. I'm sure everyone will have opinion on that, but
I think the church has not been silent. They have been quietly moving. I'd like to be of the view. Of course, as an organization, they have not been loud enough. But I think they've played their role in, influencing us more. The fact that we're here fighting for justice. Maybe if we remember that there was a time when there was a sermon called to stand up for justice, and then we raised our hand and we prayed for us. So maybe that commitment also plays a part. And also the fact that there has been sermons in church, individual sermons where they have openly preached for justice, after the protest, carrying out protest. And also, there have been contractual employees, who have withdrawn their appointments, and I feel that that is also a moral influence played by the church. So I would say that the church is not silent, it is quietly moving, but we would, of course, welcome them louder.
And the various student bodies are also fighting for the same cause. And then NNQF and the CTAN were also doing the same, of course. And then QF and the CTAN came over quickly and started this in a big way. But NSF also was from behind the scenes doing the same thing. So just wondering, maybe there's some case of dynamics, internal dynamics, this would work out. But it would be such a more powerful body of all doing together. It's just a thought. And if, I don't know, maybe there's some internal dynamics. But if there's nothing like that, I think, it's not a bad idea to have a mediator working in the team so that pressure comes together from, I'm giving it to you because you know what's happening inside. I don't know.
those are good insights. We'll leave that to the NNQF, NSF. Central University intervene in any way? I think Professor Thong would be the right person to answer this.
So now the university has a mandate. Every central university is all universities are supposed to be autonomous, but central universities have full autonomy except those Delhi and those places they have problems with the government. So we recruit, I'm a retired man. The Nagaland University recruits its own faculties and own staff. It's not given, the UPSC does not have any interviews, except for the unit interviews. But I don't think the university has a mandate to conduct interviews for or intervene in this matter. But see, because I'm here, I was here at the Nagaland University for the last 28 years. The NPSC never invited me for anyone. And then many of my friends also say, what's the NPSC doing? They don't want our services. But it's up to them, because they have an agenda. So, I don't know. I don't think the university can intervene in any way. Because that's totally autonomous. This is Nagaland government. But we can discuss this, see if anything is happening. Because one good thing is that for this NIMSA, medical college in Kohima, because that medical college is affiliated to the Nagaland University. I was deputed as a member of the interview board. So there we ensured that everything is very clean, only the best got it. But if the government puts state the policy for the Public Service Commission, that there should be a boundary from the Nagaland University. That is one way. So one good member from the Nagaland University can clean up, will not permit open corruption.
Thanks. Next question is, could AI conducted interviews be a game changer? It might offer benefits like reduced bias, standard evaluation, and increased efficiency. Has anyone ever used AI? No. I think I regularly use AI, so maybe I can just share a few thoughts. AI, when it's not handled by human, AI cannot do the work alone. So the subjectivity of this, subjective interpretation of the AI information will, at the end of the day, come down to human hands again. So I think that's the system we all are fighting for. So AI cannot do the things alone, right? And it's, I think our our officials who are part of the recruitment, it's not that they cannot carry out objective analysis of or evaluation. It's just that there is influence from somewhere or the other. So at the end of the day, it cannot be delivered. I think everyone is well qualified, I believe. It's just that there are forces that are not allowing people to be objective at this stage, at this point in time. But AI can help for sure, but to what extent without human interference? The politics is all about human beings. Like AI cannot just come and conquer us and do the things. I mean, that will be my opinion, right? You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely not AI, but we have been discussing about the interviews that are conducted. They can be aired. They can be shown to the public how the interview goes. To maintain accountability and transparency. So we would use technology that way.
Thank you. There's one more question.
Of the Minister for Higher Education, Mr. Iralu. In fact, I was, especially when I heard our GB, Mr. Kahuto Chishi was in Kohima with all of you during your protest. I wish even I were there. But I was bedridden. But then I thought, maybe I should also maybe contribute to society by penning an article. So there in my article, probably it was the second article, there I mentioned that the government should replace the minister by a highly qualified person. A qualified person should come as Minister for Higher Education. We're dealing with higher education. We cannot afford to have somebody without any qualifications come to guide the department. We look at some foreign countries like New Zealand, Australia, some places. The health minister is a doctor. The education minister is a retired or a professor. So, see, we have these kind of people who run their countries. That's why their countries are so successful. If we go wins and fancies and by party pressure, Nagaland will collapse. But at least let's not allow higher education to collapse. All of you, we are, Mr. Kahuto has already assured you of his support. You have support of the KTP. And maybe I also join trade. We gather a lot of people who can support you. We will support you. But we need to see you stand up first.
Next question. Why does this corruption occur? Article 32, Constitutional Remedies. Suomoto. I mean, I'm sure the question is like, why can't the court take this as a Suomoto case, right? So, maybe, yeah, Videkhono.
See, in life, it's all a question of accountability. Okay? So, India has become so corrupt because there is no accountability. It is not Nagaland only. See, in China, you may insult China as much as you want. You may talk bad about it. But when they catch government officials, corrupt government officials, they shoot them. But here in India, you see the corrupt are enjoying life. So the Nagas, I keep saying this, Nagas have learned the worst of the Indians, but nothing, because they have very good aspects of Indians also, but none of them good. And traffic rules also we don't follow. Look at Mizoram. Look at Nagaland, especially Dimapur. Look at, as I said earlier, churches also only offices, everybody wants to build houses, underworld factions. I am the first and only person who has fallen financial freedom fighters. Yes, this is my articles, no? I came across one Facebook, YouTube video of a beautiful place somewhere in one district, okay? You have all these lakes and islands sort of thing, and then you comment something. The owner is the leader of some underground faction. Our church leaders also. One old person was telling me about their pastor demanding a scorpion. I said, hey, you sit behind us. We have moved below us. So, this has become our way of life because there is no accountability. We have become hypocrites because nobody calls them out. In my last interview with Mr. Lungleng, we talked about people having issue with the way I say things. Well, I call them out. I call them thieves to the face. When I was on Northeast Line, Mr. Masbir Hussain was very upset because I said Rio is a liar. No, but unless we call these people out, they will be hypocrites. They will think that they're getting away with it. But when you call them out, shame is a very powerful human emotion. You have to shame them into doing good things if you cannot punish them. So Indian law is very relax, but at least you can shame them. I keep trying to tell the theologians that accept money from any source. It's okay. Whether it's a drug peddler or a bootlegger, or prostitute, or a thief, accept his money. But don't give him importance in the church. Now, when you start giving importance to the people who donate the most, not on their character, then you're supporting corruption. So things like this. Accountability, and where there is no accountability, we have to shame them. That's my view. That's why corruption is so prevalent, not only in Nagaland, but across.
Thank you. The next question is, such movements,
because it is teaching us the duties of an individual or a citizen. As an individual, as a citizen, it is your duty to stand up in a fight for justice. Nothing comes free in life. You have to fight for it or you will lose it. So that is one. And then how far have we come as an individual? See, here too, we have not progressed as individuals or as a society. But we just started.
thank you. We are about to wind up. A few more questions, and there will be refreshments outside, so don't worry about sitting here for long, okay?
I think very important question, bringing down to the individual, something about individual, where is justice and something like that. I feel this, the reason why Gandhi's revolution shook the world, and it continues very deeply, more and more deeply all across the world. Rejected violently, but also in other ways. I think because he was the one who said, be the change you want to see in the world. But go into it. Be the change you want to see in the world. Some of these questions touch that. And he said, a European journalist during the very busy days of the freedom struggle, Gandhi was busy the whole day, and he was asked by a journalist who wanted to file his report back to his paper for that day. So he gave to Gandhi and said, Gandhiji, what is your message? Gandhiji said, "My life is my message." Then the journalist was stunned. He said, "Well, what is the message of my life?" He started to think. And I feel that, you see, it has to be brought down to each one of us. Otherwise, I'm afraid it dries out. I was personally inspired to start the change that I want to see in my life because of a number of friends' examples. There was a very talented, famous church organist. He was Fraser. He was in a church in Edinburgh, Scotland. And he played the huge organ in the church. And he said, when he faced this question, be the change you want to see in the world, for him, as he asked God, where does it start with me? It's a simple thought. Every time the collection was taken by the church during the offering, they would come to the priest there and it was all put near on his organ. George Fraser said, very often he held himself to that, to his pocket. Nobody knew it. And he was playing beautiful organ and praising the Lord. Hallelujah. So for him, be the change started with telling the church, the whole church, the bishop, priest, and the church. Sorry, I am a musician playing beautiful music, but this is what I've been doing, I'm sorry. And he returned the money to the church. I was very challenged myself. I think something like that is needed in the church, and in Christians like me and you. And then there was a friend with whom I worked. For him, it meant, he said, he traveled Bombay buses regularly and train station, and he didn't need to pay for the ticket because he could do it. And after all, he was not a rich man, and the society was exploitative on just people and so on. For him, be the change man. Working out a rough, generous calculation and say to the way go to the bus BEST Bombay, the managing director and the Bombay Railways, those a lot of times, and just say that this is a very humble beginning, but this is what I've been doing. I'm against corruption in India and society became too bad. But I have been told by the inner voice, my creator, that I should do this. Now, very small thing. But for him, that was being the change, the beginning. Now, just if I'm talking about the beginning. And these things challenged me so much that I was trying to do that. So for me, it was to just spend enough time early in the morning, read my Bible, pray. I worship God. Do this because you are after God. After all, you are God. Do this for me, for my family, my friend, my village, etc., etc. But I never asked God, do you have anything to say back to me? Because I said, I'm such an ordinary fellow. I can't make any change in me could affect society. But I thought that because He had created me in His own image, I should claim responsibility with all my smallness, limitations, and say, do you have anything to say to me? Against all these stories are told from friends, I really tried to find out. And I wrote them down. I had to be completely honest with my father because I was in Madras University, Madras Christian College. he sent me there, our family sent me there with great sacrifice, they couldn't afford. But they sent me to this very good college, and I was keeping him every month by sending him a beautiful account, monthly account. My father thought I was better than all the other sons. So for me to tell him all those things, and the things I was doing that I was ashamed of, really ashamed of. For me, it was big change. You know, my father wrote back, he was in Nagaland Central Jail at that time, as I told you, the president. He was here, anyway. So he was not, after he retired as a doctor. So he wrote back to me and said, my son, thank you for your courage and honesty. I was very moved that he thought I was courageous and honest. And he went on to say that your letter, your honesty with me has made me see how I have treated your mother. I promise I will treat her differently. I never thought that was going to happen. I was telling only my father, Videkhono what it meant. But that resulted in the change in my family. I said, this I'm seeing the roadmap I should follow if I want to give anything to Nagaland that I love.
Against it without risking the job, without risking losing the job.
Actually, one sign with raising for us to, if you know that there is some, see, what you're saying is if you're a government servant, you know something is wrong in your department, and since you in the government, you know if you cannot openly raise your voice against it, what I would like to request is, you provide the details, the information to us. We make sure your name will never be made public. We have done in so many departments, and so far we have never disclosed the name of the people who give information. That way we can at least clean the corruption a little bit. Don't be afraid to do it.
For me, personally, I would like to encourage all the government employees who come together. When you come as a collective, I think you will not be targeted. Many of them are afraid of being targeted. Even with regard to the movement, you know, how far has we come as a movement, you know? The involvement of people, it becomes really difficult, you know? There are just few people running and doing the job, and some people they like to stay, you know, behind, you know? So that it has been a problem, even in the movement. So with regard to the government employees as well as NNQF members or CTAN members, I think when we come as a collective, that way, you know, you can stand up for yourself, you're standing for others as well. So instead of, yeah, you can either go for Meshenlo's approach or to come as a collective, you know. The movement will go if you come as a collective.
Thank you. I would encourage all of you to read up how whistleblowers risk their life to
We've also been covering for businesses, professors, I have one question. When you were speaking about or going to the board as well, one statement by the convener, the president of CTAN, was that financial constraints, because of the financial constraints, you may not be able to take it forward. However, when the previous time, I think you also mentioned about fighting a lot of corruption even in other departments as well. So do you think it would be practical to fight against corruption in other departments as well without being able to take it to the board? Do you think you will be able to fight justice just like you did this time? Obviously, the requisition is still pending. However, in the long run, without going to court or with financial constraints, do you think it will be practical to fight for justice, especially for youth?
It is true representations, memorandums, protests, we were able to bring about NSSB, Nagaland Selection Board, Niketu Iralu, reduction of interview marks. Now, earlier the APC does not give the marks after the result, but now after pressuring them, now they give the marks of the individual marks. Supposing if I appear exam, I can write to the APC, I can see my marks, my individual marks, of course not the others. So all those are achieved through representations, agitations and all. or we were able to terminate backdoor appointments in many of the departments. Still, there are some pending. We have given some deadline to some departments, which we will be mentioning whenever required, but I won't say the name of the department today because tonight they will become restless. So, and when it comes to court case, of course, there may be some cases where we need to go to court. But as far as the CTA is concerned, we have never gone to court because we believe in democracy now. Our court case is not really true. Democratically, positionally, corruption all the Hakaw, that's what we believe. And that is the way we deal with the corruption in Nagaland. This is not the first time we have taken up issues. So, after this issue also, there are some departments where we have filed RTI, or there are some departments where we have given them a deadline of 30 days, which did not come out in public. So, I have said this in some of the places also. If we are only very confined with this department, people may think that I am having some grudges, or our leaders are having some grudges against the department officials or against the ministers. This is what we have been doing since the beginning, and we will continue to do this. There are so many big issues, like we have issues in social welfare, legal metrology. I am talking about the departments where we are taking up issues. Health and Family Welfare Department is there. And taking this platform, I would like to remind the Naga Hospital Authority also. Now see, the other day also, when regarding this 147, I'm mentally being so much disturbed, I honestly say. Naga people are so lazy, I just want to say, since they have my number, they think that I also will feel like them. Unnecessarily they will give me. Now I love to take suggestions. Okay, out of the picture about me, I'm also an individual. I'm a human. I have only one brain. You don't expect me to act like a machine now. 24 hours active why need this department? Why not checking this? Why I have Instagram and text to me? Honestly, we are also doing our best to at least clean up into department later on the pick out. He is admitted in Nagaland Hospital, okay? So why is he bringing his father to Kohima Hospital? Because there is no CT scan down there, which is not. CT scan, out of the excuse that the Nagaland Hospital authority is giving is Samancho Holeche. Samancho Holeche, CT scan 2-3 years here, really? Now what we are trying to say, the name itself, Combined Technical Association of Nagaland, actually we are to be confined only with technical, we deal with any department which is not functioning properly. Or if necessary, and what I heard is, I see what now private hospital they have given it to some private individuals. I see government lobby cheap again. See, that is happening in our state. Out of emotion, in other cases coming, we will continue to take up the journey. Thank you.
One YouTuber from Moon District called me up, and he said, it is only for 147 people, whereas my issues are for villages across Nagaland. So in one way he had a valid point. So this we must understand, if we are to change society, the change begins with you. You have to stand up. And we need a total rebuild of all our institutions. Like government institutions we cannot change, but when we change the civil institutions, like the churches or civil societies, then it affects the government institutions. So we have seen this corruption everywhere. Jal Jeevan Mission. How many villages have drinking water? It's only name. Everything else is only names. So it's good that you brought up even the signboard, not even maybe they're sending money, for one or two letters. We don't know. Outside the house also they came, and our mentality. The road was being built and they wanted to build the drainage, but my neighbors they refused. See, we want to live in cities, we want to live in the middle of towns, but we don't have the civic sense to allow drainage. And the major cause of the bad roads in Nagaland lack drainage. So things like that. We cannot always blame the government. Of course, I blame the government because they are not proactive. But again, a vast part of the blame lies with us. See, I was called up 2 years back by one of our national media houses. They wanted to do a hit piece on Mr. Yu. So I talk bad about him, but I don't blame him for the mess we are in. He is part of the problem, but he's not the sole cause. We are also part of the problem. So I told him, no. Corruption in Nagaland is endemic. It is not the CM's fault. Always with all of us, starting with the villages. I keep emphasizing that. Corruption starts in the villages. So we have to understand that. All of us are responsible for the corruption we are facing. So I hope that answers your question.
Nagaland TV, Sop Manulaga Awas. Watch us live on Geo TV and on your television sets as well. For Dimapur viewers, we are on channel number 994 in Global Chapter, and Kohima and Mokokchung viewers, switch to channel number 138 on Hornbill Digital. For all news and updates, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.